अर्जुन उवाच परं ब्रह्म परं धाम पवित्रं परमं भवान् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवमजं विभुम् आहुस्त्वां ऋषयः सर्वे देवर्षिर्नारदस्तथा असितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे.
Arjuna said, "You are the supreme Brahman, the supreme abode, the supreme purifier, the eternal, the divine Purusha, the primordial God, the unborn, the all-pervading. So declare all the sages, the divine sage Narada, Asita, Devala and Vyasa. And you also say this, you yourself say this." So here with this verse, we enter the third topic which deals with Arjuna's question, how do I know you? Where are you in this world? Throughout, Krishna has been saying Atman is all-pervading, God is everywhere in the universe and transcends the universe. And like us, Arjuna looks out into the world, and at that moment he is only seeing the Kauravas. He is seeing a horrible battle before him. He is not seeing God. So the question that arises in his mind is, how do I know you? Where do you exist in the world? Show me. Also, see, when he repeats all this, you are supreme Brahman, it falls flat. It doesn't mean anything even to him. And certainly not to us. He's just repeating words that he's heard. Why does he say that? Because he cannot come to terms with the fact that Krishna, his close friend, his friend with whom he was playing mischief and playing games, and you know what it is having a friend. That this friend is that mighty Brahman, he can't understand that. And that is why the question arises. He has heard the definition of reality in the Vedas. He has heard the great sages, Narada, Sita, Devala, so on and so forth say this. He has heard Krishna in the previous chapters say the same thing. But it is not his conviction. He hasn't absorbed it. He hasn't digested it. And therefore the question. So what do we learn from this? What we learn from this is, don't judge others. As Christ said that, judge not others. Because when you look at people, you only see, in fact, what you see is what you believe. You hear only what you want to hear. You don't hear what is said. Because whatever you're hearing is passing through a filter of your prejudices and biases. So if you think you're talking to an idiot, you don't hear any wisdom out of that person. You see what you want to see. It's true, they've done experiments. They've had 3 people drive on the same road. And the 3 people see 3 totally different things. One man who is driving, if he's hungry, he sees only restaurants. Another person sees, who wants to buy jewelry, a lady sees only jeweler shops. A third person who wants technology sees only electronic goods shops. So, you're really not seeing the truth. You are only seeing what you want to see. So don't judge others. Because what you see is not a reflection of what that person is. What you see is a reflection of what you've got in your mind. Arjuna has finitude in his mind, so he's not able to see Krishna's grandeur. And that is the problem. So you only need to assess to the extent that you need to for your existence. It's like this. If you want to pass through a forest, you don't need to deforest the whole area. What do you need to do? Just find a path out of that forest, for which you may have to pull down maybe 1 tree. That's it. So assess to the extent you need to assess people. Don't sit there passing judgment on the whole world. That's what we learn. So he repeats. What does he repeat? Param Brahman, you are the Supreme Brahman. Param Dhama, you are the abode. It's like, see, everything rests in Brahman, just like everything in the dream rests in the Viveka's mind. Paramam Pavitram, you're the supreme purifier. Why purifier? Because the thought of the higher displaces all lower thoughts. Try that. See, for instance, Gandhiji was interested in clothes and things like any other young man. The moment the thought of the country, of truth, of justice came into his being, all these thoughts went out of the window. It's empowering, it's purifying. Shashvatam, eternal, before time, as we saw yesterday. Divyam Purusham, the divine being. When you look out into the world, you don't see divinity because you don't have the divine thought. The moment you entertain the divine thought, you will see divinity in the nonsense that goes on in the world. Adi Devam, the first God. Causeless cause. See, it's like this. In the dark, when you're walking along, you see a rope lying on the ground. And it's coiled in such a way that it resembles a snake. You mistake the rope for a snake. Okay? What is it that has caused the snake? Huh? Rope? If you say rope has caused the snake, then everyone should see a snake. It is not a direct cause and effect relationship, because it is another snake causes a snake. But here the snake hasn't come out of another snake. The snake has come out of rope. Ignorance of the rope. So it's not a direct cause and effect relationship, yet it is true that if the rope were not there, you could not have mistaken it for a snake. So in a sense, the rope is Adi Deva, the causeless cause of the snake. Similarly, you are seeing a world and you say, who created the world? Who created? Oh, now you're giving a wise answer. Normally people say, God created the world. And an atheist's argument is, if God created the world, what kind of God is he? Because a horrible world he's created. Full of terrorism and war and death and torture and all that. But the truth of the matter is, God has not created the world. God is the substratum, is like the rope on which you have projected the world. So, Adi Devam. Ajam, unborn. Unborn, no birth, means no death, means no change. It's the changeless substratum on which you perceive changes. Vibhum, all-pervading. It exists everywhere. See, the subtler a thing is, the more pervasive it is. Where your gross body pervades only through your physical body. Your subtle body is far more pervasive. Subtle body means mind and intellect, pervades the waking state and the dream state where your thoughts function. The causal body, your vasanas, go one step beyond. They pervade not just the waking and the dream state, but they exist in the deep sleep state as well. Atman pervades the entire cross-section of your experiences and exists beyond as the unmanifest part, therefore all-pervading. And then he says, various sages speak of your greatness. Why does he say that? When he says the greatest of sages pay homage, have paid tribute to Krishna, it carries weight. If you and I, ordinary people, pay tribute, it means nothing. It's like this. If another great cricketer pays homage to Sachin Tendulkar, it carries weight. But if you and I assume you know as little cricket as I do, we talk about Sachin Tendulkar's greatness, it has no value because you don't know the difference between offside and onside, and what can you talk? So the great sages, Narada, who was not just a person endowed with wisdom but an extremely mischievous sage, Asita and Devala, highly accomplished rishis, and Vyasa, the son of Parashara, the great sage, and Satyavati, the fisherwoman, which means he had the combination of the wisdom of his father and the practicality of a fisherwoman. Fisherwomen are very practical. So this combination resulted in his creations. He compiled the Vedas, which is why he was called, even now referred to as Veda Vyasa. He wrote original compositions of Puranas and Brahma Sutras and subsidiary Puranas and so on. And his greatest composition was the Mahabharata, of which the Bhagavad Gita is a part. So he says, Vyasa also paid tribute to you. And then he continues, verse 14.